Welcome to Focus Today. I am delighted to have back with us Bryan Fischer. Bryan is one of the guys that's on top of a lot of the issues, and I hold him in high regard for his passion and conviction to stay on top of these things. He's Director of Issues Analysis for American Family Association, and when he's not working hard at his desk, he's at the San Francisco 49ers training camp, making sure that they put their game together for the next season.
Well, you know, we're breaking in the new stadium and all that. We got to be ready to fire on all fronts.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised you haven't got your jersey on, man.
Oh, maybe next time.
Okay, good to see you, Bryan. How you doing, my friend?
Doing fine, Perry. Good to be on with you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, listen, we got lots to talk about. Let's get into it. It looks like the Senate Democrats want to come after Hobby Lobby with a bill that basically says we can kill the preborn up to the moment of natural birth.
Well, you know, this is just an indication of just how rabid the Democratic Party is about killing unborn babies, because this is a reaction to the ruling that the Supreme Court issued, which upheld the right of Hobby Lobby not to pay for abortion-causing prescriptions for their employees. Now, the truth of the matter is that there are about 20 contraceptives that are available on the market, and Hobby Lobby's healthcare plan provides for their employees to purchase 16 of those 20 contraceptives. The only four that Hobby Lobby objected to are the ones that will terminate a human life in the earliest days right after fertilization, right after conception. But the Democrats apparently are so determined to kill babies in the womb and to compromise the religious convictions of Christian business owners that they actually put together a bill to try to undo the Supreme Court ruling and force every employer, despite their Christian convictions or not, to pay for all so-called contraceptives for their employees. So this really is not even about contraception, because Hobby Lobby supports that for their employees. This is really about the death of unborn children in the womb and the vindictiveness of the Democratic Party to make sure that Christian employers have to pay for that.
All right. So is this also a campaign issue? I mean, this all they got to rally some kind of their liberal female base to make this work?
Well, you know, I think it is. And the fact that Hobby Lobby is not opposed to contraception, they're not opposed to birth control, they're only opposed to medications that terminate human life. And the fact that the liberals are trying to conceal that truth from the public, they're trying to paint Hobby Lobby as some kind of anti-woman business and so forth. You know, and my point of view, Perry, is that the people that are really anti-women here, the people that are engaged in the war on women, are those that are determined to provide abortion under all circumstances at any time for any reason, because half of the babies that are terminated, half of the babies that are killed in the womb, half of those babies are women. So my position, or females. So my position has always been that we ought to have equal rights for unborn women. So we're really the ones that are engaged in the process of trying to protect females at the most vulnerable stage of their existence.
You know, Bryan, another part of this argument has kind of put my brain on tilt. It's always been disguised as women's health. Please tell me where a woman can go in this culture and not get medical services for women's health.
Well, you know, it's absolutely absurd. And, you know, the reality is, if a woman's employer does not provide birth control, she can get it for $9 a month at a pharmacy like Walgreens or CVS. It's not difficult to get. It's not expensive, very easy for a woman to get. So, again, this really isn't about women's health. And, you know, we believe that ultimately, you know, my personal belief is a woman has a right to do with her body whatever she wants. But she does not have the right to do with the body of her baby whatever she wants. We're talking about another baby here. We're talking about the body of the baby that she carries, and no human being has a right to do with somebody else's body whatever they want. We believe that that baby and the body of that baby in the womb of the mother needs legal protection.
Now, could this bite the Democrats going into, say, fall election or maybe even 2016, because it's going to force some of those Democrats to take a position on this?
Yes, and you know, the good news, Perry, is that we were able to rally enough support from our constituents enough good-hearted Americans weighed in that we were actually able to stop this bill in the Senate. That's the part that the media has not spent a lot of time covering. They spent a lot of time talking about the fact that Hobby Lobby was against women, against women's reproductive health, and about this bill that was going to protect women from the evils of Hobby Lobby. But we were able to generate enough support that we were able to stop this bill in the Senate, where it had its best chance of succeeding. We felt that this bill was not going to go anywhere in the House because it's in the hands of pro-life Republicans, but we were able to bottle this thing up in the Senate. Didn't even make it out of Senate, so the Democrats weren't even able to do it. You know, and I say at the end of my program every day, Perry, that we are fighting a winnable war, and here's an example. You know, this was just the people of America rising up, communicating to their senators, we do not want this bill to go through. And one other interesting wrinkle on this, what the Senate was trying to do was to overturn or to revoke a bill that had been passed in 1993, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and the Supreme Court based its ruling on that law. That's the reason they said that Hobby Lobby cannot be forced to buy these contraceptives, these abortifacients, because of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And that was a bill that was sponsored by Chuck Schumer, a Democrat. It passed the Senate 97-3 and was signed into law by Democratic President Bill Clinton. So it was their own bill that gave the Supreme Court the legal ammunition they needed to protect religious liberty for Hobby Lobby.
Interesting. Okay, now just a little bit more on this. Do you think the faith community and other faith-based organizations, whether they're publicly owned or privately owned, will capitalize on this? I mean, we'll jump on this and see it as a win and move forward with it.
Well, I certainly hope so. You know, the Supreme Court has acted in a way that's consistent with the First Amendment. You know, the First Amendment, Perry, protects the free exercise of religion, not just the freedom to believe what you want, not just the freedom to worship God in the way you choose between 11 and noon on Sunday. It protects the free exercise of religion. That applies to Christian businessmen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the Supreme Court, even though they did not base their ruling on the First Amendment, the law that they protected and upheld was based on the First Amendment to protect the free exercise of religion. So we're optimistic and hopeful that there will be Christian businessmen all across America that will take advantage of this and that they will adopt policies in line with their most deeply held religious convictions and protect innocent life in the womb. The Supreme Court's given them the opportunity to do that here.
All right, on another issue, again, our president basically governing through executive order, of which he put into effect the discrimination of LGBT for federal contractors. What's been the backlash on that one?
Well, this is a perfectly horrible executive order. You know, there are all kinds of problems with this that have nothing to do with the issue of homosexuality itself. This is obviously an effort on the part of the president to use the power of his office, the bully pulpit, to bully Americans into providing special sanctions and protections and endorsements for homosexual behavior, which we believe is actually sexually deviant behavior. And by that, we're not using that in a pejorative term. It's just a descriptive term. You know, to deviate means to depart from the plan, to depart from God's design for human sexuality. So we believe that this behavior deviates from God's plan for sexuality, and no Christian businessman who has conscience-driven principles about this should be forced to compromise them in employment. But, you know, there are a couple of other major problems with this. Number one, the Constitution does not give the president any power to establish public policy through executive orders. You know, the first words in the Constitution, Perry, Article 1, Section 1, all legislative power shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. All legislative power. So the only power, the only authority to actually craft public policy rests with the Congress, and every last bit of it rests with the Congress. None of it, zero, zip, nada, zilch, rests with the president. The president has no authority to establish public policy and to create legislation. That's something that Congress alone can do. And Congress rejected the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, and that's what President Obama is working around. The Congress said, no, we are not going to create special workplace protections for people who engage in these non-normative sexual behaviors. And the president said, well, I don't care what you did. I'm going to go around you. I'm going to go around Congress. I'm going to go around the Constitution, and I'm going to do it by executive fiat. He has no constitutional or moral or legal authority to do that.
All right, I want to take a quick break and come back and have you somewhat unpack that for us, because we seem to be in a position now where the president is clearly breaking the law. He is violating the Constitution, and there doesn't seem to be a real serious pushback on this. Maybe you have some reasons as to why not. I mean, a lawsuit? Give me a break. We'll be right back with Bryan Fischer in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back, and our special guest today is Bryan Fischer. He's the director of the issue analysis for American Family Association. He also has his own television show, or radio, excuse me, and you may want to check out their website. It's an incredible resource, afa.net, and all the things we're talking about, issue papers and everything else, you're going to find there, and support them. They do an excellent job, and Bryan has already shared with us, I believe it's because of their contacts and their ability to get the word out across the nation that this crazy bill in the Senate got thwarted. Bryan, we are in somewhat constitutional crisis. We're certainly in leadership crisis, and the list goes on and on and on. There is an attempt, I guess, to sue the president. I'm not sure how all that works. And then the whole idea of impeachment based upon overusing executive orders or abuse of powers. Now it's being talked about maybe the southern state governors ought to sue the president for violation of his duties on the border and let Congress do their real job and at least impeach him. I don't know if they'll get him thrown out, but an impeachment would at least slow him down for the next 2 years.
Yeah. Well, you know, and you're right about these serious breaches of the Constitution, going back to that LGBT order, that the executive order that the president issued on Monday. Again, it has no foundation in the Constitution whatsoever, because all legislative power belongs to Congress. And as we just talked about in the last segment, the First Amendment protects the free exercise of religion for all people of faith, including in the way they run their business. That's one of the places where they exercise their religious faith. And so the president, in issuing this executive order, has no constitutional authority to do it. He has no legal authority, no moral authority, no ethical authority to do it, but he's done it anyway, and it's a threat to religious freedom. It tramples on the First Amendment. You know, and what he's doing on the border, where he again is deciding not to enforce immigration law. He doesn't have the right to do that. In fact, it's his job to enforce immigration law. That's the job of the executive branch. In our form of government, the Congress passes laws, and it's the responsibility of the executive branch to implement those laws, to enforce those laws. And that's what President Obama has failed to do. In fact, he's changed immigration law on his own by granting amnesty to people that Congress has said we're not going to grant amnesty to. So he's just consistently ignoring the Constitution, ignoring the rule of the law, and rule of law, and going around it. You know, and Jonathan Turley, I don't know if you know who Jonathan Turley is, Perry, but he is a legal professor. He teaches at George Washington University. He's a supporter of Barack Obama. He says ideologically, politically, I agree with all of his positions. I voted for him twice. But he testified before Congress last week, and he says, look, what this president is doing, he is out of control. Those are not his words, those are mine. But Jonathan Turley saying to Congress, look, this president is ignoring the Constitution. He is ignoring the law. He is ignoring the separation of powers. And he said this to Congress. He is on the way of making you completely irrelevant as a body, because he's usurping your authority. And he basically begged Congress, look, you need to do something about this. Now, John Boehner has filed a lawsuit against the president. Whether that's going to go anywhere or not, I really don't know. But you know, the founders, Perry, in their wisdom, they foresaw the possibility that a president or some other member of the executive branch or federal judges would be out of control. They would fail to fulfill their oath of office. You know, right. The president, his oath of office, he took an office to see that the laws be faithfully executed, to uphold and defend the Constitution, of the United States, and he is consistently refusing to carry out his sworn duty. That's an impeachable offense all by itself. And so, the remedy that the founders provided for a situation like this was the power of impeachment. They said, look, if a president is out of control, there are checks and balances for all the branches of government. The check and balance on the executive branch is the power of impeachment, where the Congress has the constitutional authority. The House would file the articles of impeachment. That's like an indictment. And then the Senate would conduct the trial. If they convict him on the charges, then he would be removed from office. Now, the chances of the president being removed from office, because the Senate's in the hands of Democrats, very slim. But the Republicans at least can exercise their constitutional duty, I believe, and file articles of impeachment against this president. I believe they've got a solemn duty to do it. It's in their power to file articles of impeachment, and I believe they should do it. This lawsuit's unlikely to go anywhere, but at least if they file articles of impeachment, it surfaces the issue. The public debate is all about it. It could be sent to the Senate for trial, and then the Senate would have to answer for the fact that they are allowing this president to violate the Constitution at will with impunity.
Wow, that's well said, Bryan, because sometimes I guess we're waiting to see if there's a turnover after this November where you'd have at least like-minded people that would force this. But with all due respect to him as a person, and certainly to the position of the presidency, it appears right now we got a leadership that is anti-God and anti-America.
Well, one of the alarming things, and here's another thing, Perry, that people need to understand. What we are dealing with here is something that is unprecedented in American history. And this is what Jonathan Turley was trying to tell Congress. Look, we've never had a president that has arrogated to himself this kind of what really amounts to tyrannical and dictatorial authority, where he just disregards the Constitution, disregards the law, and just does whatever he wants. He's sort of governing by executive fiat. Well, that's what they do in banana republics. That's what they do in third world countries. And Jonathan Turley trying to get the attention of Congress. Look, this is not how things are designed to operate in America. And you look at these executive orders, and you really have, I think, not only an anti-God, but an anti-Christian energy and animus that seems to be driving this president. He fawns over Islam all the time. He's a proponent of Islam. He says wonderful things about Islam. He has Ramadan dinners in the White House, very glitzy, talks about all of the contributions of Islam to American history, of which there are none. I mean, he's never cited a specific example, but never ever says anything kind about the influence of Christianity on the world or on American history. So there seems to be an anti-Christian bias, an anti-religious liberty bias in this president. And, it's alarming to think that unless something is done, we've got another 2.5 years of being governed by a president who is fundamentally lawless.
All right. What are the Christians to do, Bryan? What are you telling your listeners? I mean, you hear the same calls I do. They're frustrated. They don't know what to do. Is this a turn the other cheek moment? Is this a trowel in one hand and a saber in the other hand moment? What do we do?
Yeah. Well, I think obviously we must be people of prayer. We know from what Jesus taught us that prayer can move mountains, that in faith we can say to this mountain, be lifted up and cast into the sea, and it will be done. So even the things that look to us like impossibilities, like seeing kind of changes in the executive office, the Oval Office that we want to see, it may seem impossible to us, but we know that nothing is impossible with God. So we must continue to pray. We must continue to believe. When we see things that happen around us, Perry, that we don't like, we need to use that as kind of a prompt to intercessory prayer. God, please help us. God, please save us. God, please protect us. And then, frankly, Perry, I think we just need to keep pestering our members of Congress. We just need to wear them out with our complaints about what they are allowing this president to get away with. And who cares if they get irritated? I mean, they're the ones that have the capacity to do something about it, and we need to pester them until they do.
Why do you think John Boehner is dragging his feet on challenging the president on his seemingly breach of duty here?
I really don't know it. I don't know exactly why. I do think one thing, Perry, is that even John Boehner has never seen anything like this in his life. And I think sometimes Republicans are just kind of slow to wake up and realize the enormity of what's being done right under their noses. I think there's sort of a complacency and sort of a sleepiness about some of this. They don't seem to understand the urgency of the situation. You know, I also think, talking about the border, for instance,
yeah, right,
the Republicans are just as bad on the border as this administration. I mean, it's Republicans that are talking about amnesty and open borders and all of that. But the reason for that is very simple. The Chamber of Commerce has promised the Republican Party $50 million for their election campaigns if they will support and pass amnesty legislation. So John Boehner is getting all of this money dangled in front of him, and the Republicans, by the Chamber of Commerce. So they basically sold their souls on immigration policy for what the Scripture calls, the King James calls, filthy lucre. Because Chamber of Commerce, they speak for businesses that want cheap labor. And so they've said to the Republican Party, we don't care about the Constitution. We don't care about what's best for America. We don't care about what's best for our culture. We just care about getting cheap labor. And we'll give you $50 million if you will sell your principles out in order to promote amnesty. So that's part of what causes this sleepiness and indifference and irresponsibility on the part of Republicans.
There is a humanitarian crisis now at the border. It's not only taking care of these young people coming across. What do we do as human beings and Christians? At the same time, part of that humanitarian crisis is they've been separated from their family. It seems like the most Christian thing we could do is get them back home with their families.
Well, absolutely, Perry. You are exactly right. The most humanitarian thing we can do is, number one, to seal up that border so children are not tempted to make this dangerous, dangerous journey. Children are dying on this journey. They're finding the bodies of young children washing up on the banks of the Rio Grande. We have heard reliable reports that as many as a third of the young girls who make this trip are sexually abused or molested on the journey. And so the most humanitarian thing we can do is seal up that border so they're not tempted to try this very dangerous thing. And then the second thing, Perry, look, these children are separated from their parents. The most humanitarian thing we can do is get these children reunited with their families, reunited with their parents. That's where they belong.
You saw where maybe he wants to be president, but Governor Perry is sending the National Guard down there. Now you got a state doing a federal job. Are we heading into another constitutional crisis with this move?
Well, you know, there really should not be a constitutional crisis here, Perry, and I'll tell you why. In fact, I wrote a column about it today. The Second Amendment says that a well-regulated militia is necessary for the security of a free state. Uses the word state, as in the state of Texas. And the reason that the founders in the Second Amendment, again, this was after they had provided in the Constitution for a standing army. This is 2 years later. They say, hey, one hole we make sure we need to plug here is we need to make sure that states understand they have the right to protect their own borders. So Governor Perry, should not be a constitutional crisis. Governor Perry has the authority as the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, the militia of the state of Texas, to deploy them to the border to protect the security of the state of Texas. Now, it's a shame that the federal government is not doing it for them, but Texas and Governor Perry, they do have the constitutional authority to protect their border using military means to do it.
That's an incredible take. I never considered that. Thanks. I think you opened up our eyes on that, because I think he's doing a thing. You know, what happens if he's successful? I mean, what happens? What's Louisiana going to do? What's New Mexico going to do? And is Governor Brewer going to get involved in this?
Well, you know, you've got Governor Brewer is very upset with the administration for what they've done at the border. You know, the governor of New Mexico, Susana Martinez, she is a conservative. Bobby Jindal in Louisiana, conservative Republican. So they could be emboldened by Governor Perry. Well, he could wind up being President Perry because of this virtually, but they could be emboldened by his example, recognize that they are the commanders-in-chief of their National Guard, and they can do something about this constitutionally. You know, that's the reason for militia, according to the Founding Fathers' Second Amendment, to protect the security of a free state. They can do it.
Wow. Bryan, you're an inspiration. This is great stuff. What are you guys working on? What are some of the things you got your eye on?
Well, this is pretty alarming. Just to drop this, we're going to send an action alert out on this later in the week. But there's a cable network called it's the Cartoon Network. Actually, they've got a segment of late night programming called Adult Swim. A lot of it's animated stuff, but they are preparing to roll out a new program entitled The Black Jesus. This is a ghetto Jesus. This is the Jesus that uses profanity. This is the Jesus that drinks, gets drunk. This is the Jesus that hands out bottles of booze to people in the hood. It's incredibly offensive program. So we're going to try to appeal to Time Warner, which owns this cable network, appeal to Time Warner not to put this thing on the air. So people go to our website at afa.net. They can sign up for the action alerts, and we'll keep them apprised of what's going on with this new horribly offensive program.
All right, afa.net, do that. Bryan, thanks, my friend. I consider our time together to be precious, and I know you're busy. You got a lot going on preparing for your shows and doing all your writing. Thanks for your time today, and let's stay in touch, okay?
You bet, Perry. It's always an honor and a delight for me to be with you. Thank you.
All right, God bless. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, welcome back. Coming up in just a few moments, Cyndi Bright's going to join us, and she's with the Pregnancy Center, and we're going to get updated on a lot of things going on there. And, of course, just having Bryan Fischer on from American Family Association is a clear indicator of what we are trying to do here at theDove, and getting all this information out and trying to keep you informed of the issues and what's happening. It is a huge commitment, and we're very passionate about it. And I just want to say thank you to so many of you who have been so faithful in supporting on what we're doing. Take a few moments right now to give you an update on where we are in the move. A lot of people thought, well, we're already in our new building. No, we're not. We are working very, very hard towards that. And it's just a lot of work. You know, I'm not saying that it hasn't had its challenges. It has. But when you're moving a broadcast facility that incorporates 4 FM radio stations and about 6 translators and 2 television stations and all the equipment that goes to support all of that, it's a big operation. Not to mention just the infrastructure that is needed to maintain a normal business practice, and moving our offices with IT set up with computers and internet working and all of that. It's just a big, big job. It is coming along quite nicely. We had some major hurdles. We've come over those. We finally found a path for the satellite wiring to get into the building, and most of the interior IT work has basically been completed. Right now we're concentrating on a few other areas that would include getting the FM radio station ready to be moved. So things are progressing. We are shooting for about, and this is a rough date right now, but somewhere around the 14th of August, we will pull the plug in this location and go to the next location. And there may be some broadcast interruptions. I just kind of letting you know that in advance. There's some things that we just can't avoid being off the air with for at least a couple of hours. We regret that, but there's no way to avoid it. And so we'll keep you posted on that as we get a little bit closer to the date. I just want to say thank you for your prayers and your support. It's been a tough summer in a lot of ways. A lot of folks go on vacation, deservingly, get out and do your thing and go camping and go see mom and dad and all of those things. And sometimes you forget to send in your monthly support, and we understand that. So maybe let this be a little gentle reminder that in the middle of a move, as costly as this move is, everybody's continued support is vital to make all of this happen. In fact, we just can't do it any other way. You've heard me mention before, about 86% of the income to theDove operations is from viewers and listeners just like you. It doesn't happen any other way. And the rest, we do have some revenue sharing with some of the programs that we air. And on the television side, we are allowed to sell some advertising, but the vast majority of what we do is through listeners and supporters like you. And I want to say it's not about moving. The building, as wonderful as it is, and we are, believe me, 30-year grateful. We've been renting for 30 years. Now we're getting our own permanent facility. We are excited and we are grateful. But the building is a tool to do what God called us to do in media, through all platforms, radio, television, tablets, smartphones, internet. Our call, our mission is to get the gospel out through all of these platforms. And I tell you folks, with the craziness of the world, and there is a lot going on, you have to admit, you probably never thought you'd live today where you see so many things upside down. And but God uses the content of the Dove and matches it with the need of the person at the right time. We see that in the scripture that the Lord gave us as confirmation for our mission. Found in Romans 10:20, it says, I was found by those who were not seeking me. How does that happen? People flipping through the dial, whether it's radio or television, they're not even seeking God. And the scripture says, and they find me. And why they find him, he says, and they didn't ask me to manifest myself to them, but I did it anyway. In other words, God matches the content with the person's need at the right time, and he manifests his love to them at the moment that they need it. And that's what happens here at the Dove, day in and day out. Some of the letters and emails and people that stop by, and the little notes that you send in with your monthly support, are all indicators that the Dove programming is touching lives and making a difference. And when you support the Dove, you help us do that 24/7. The future is unbelievable, and what we can do in the future by producing more programs and expanding the operation in areas that we feel like God's calling us to do it. But we can't do it without your support. And it's been a very challenging summer in addition to the move. Those two things together has made things really, really tight. And folks have asked, well, where are you with your air conditioning issue? We are working on it. We've had a lot of response to folks who wanted to help, and we are really grateful for that. We're trying to figure out a way to solve this problem the most effective and efficient way that we can. And there are various options in front of us. It kind of caught us off guard, and I feel bad about it because of all the things I've been working on. Somebody accused me of being pretty dumb. Well, I guess I'm guilty. We were looking in other areas more intensively, and then we realized that we didn't consider this in the budget. So I certainly take responsibility for that. But we are trying to solve that problem as quickly as we can. But whether that's solved or not, we are committed now to go ahead and move over, and that will happen within the next couple of weeks. So we'll keep you posted of the exact dates, but folks, we are real close. So I want to say thank you for your support. Remind you, if you haven't sent it in this summer, we can certainly use it. We need your help, really, in a big way. The combination of a challenging summer and a lean summer and the move has really got us close to the line. In fact, very uncomfortably close to the line. And so sometimes you have to give and take, and what you're planning to do, you don't do. And I'm sure you do that with your own personal household budgets. And so thank you for whatever the Lord leads you to do to support this ministry. And you can always come by. You can go online at theDove.us. That website is totally safe and secure. But remember, it's not about money and it's not about buildings. And yet those two items are extremely important in what we do. It's the programming, getting into the lives of people who need it. And it's amazing how God is using media as a missionary tool to reach America. It's just happening day in and day out. And when you support the Dove, your dollar is going beyond just the immediate area. It's literally going around the world and helping us with these various platforms. So thanks for your support. We really do appreciate it here at the Dove, and we can't do it any other way. So thank you so much, okay? All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Cyndi Bright, and she is bright. She'll be with us in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at the Dove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on the Dove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and one of my most favorite people in Southern Oregon is with me this morning, Cyndi Bright. She heads up the pregnancy center here in the Medford area, and she has more going on than you can possibly imagine. She's one of the happiest people in the world. I gotta know what you put on your cereal in the morning.
It's a secret. It's joy, pure joy. I'm doing good. You know, I haven't been here in a while.
Yeah.
I miss you guys.
Well, here we are.
I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad that you have an opportunity for us to make a couple of huge announcements.
Okay.
One of them just happened within the last 24 hours, and I don't even have it on our chat list.
Okay.
We hired an RN,
Oh.
and within the next 2 weeks, she's going to go for training to do limited obstetrical ultrasound. And I have permission to say her name, and her name is Cyndi McCollum.
Really?
Yes, and she's
Congratulations.
perfect. And the personnel committee who did the interviewing, they all loved her. She will be a perfect fit. So thank you. It's been a while.
Two Cindys in the same building.
Yeah.
Cyndi, and everybody comes running.
I know. We're figuring that out right now.
Okay.
Who's who?
All right. Well, congratulations on our end. I know that that's been a
Thank you for
concern,
prayer.
and
Yes.
the ultrasound services will continue there at the pregnancy center. All right. Your other one is that you got a mobile app.
We got a mobile app, and this is so strategic for us to meet the age group that we're taking care of.
Okay.
So websites are for desktops, and apps are for smartphones and tablets.
Right.
So once you download this mobile app onto your phone, you don't need Wi-Fi to look through it at all. But it has some specific features that is being targeted for girls and guys that are in junior high and high school. So even though your child may have this on their phone, don't get worried. It's all very clear education about how to prevent STDs, STIs, how to continue to choose a life of abstinence, and some of the myths about pregnancy and whatnot. I mean, I remember growing up and saying you can't get pregnant having sex the first time.
Yeah.
Well, there's these apps are going to help these young people in the privacy of wherever they are. Now look at, a lot of people may not have a place to live, or they may not have a lot of things, but most of the women we serve, they all have phones, and that is their link. And it's very important that they are able to have the best care possible.
All right. So the app is called what? The Pregnancy Center?
It's called the PC.
Oh, PC.
So you can go in and type in the PC or the whole word, the Pregnancy Center, and you will see our logo, and you could download it on your phone. But what I specifically wanted to talk to are about some of the features. And we have a feature on there that specifically gives you a quiz for STDs. And it also asks you really good questions. Now, I took the test. Our staff took the quizzes. Our children, adult children, have taken the quizzes, and we all walk away going, holy moly, I had no idea. This is valuable information, and we don't know where to go to it all the time.
Wow.
So it's right there.
Okay.
It also gives, we want our girls to be clearly educated if they choose abortion, what they're getting into. And so it gives them the procedure and the risks. Even if they decide to do a medical, the RU486, or whether they do the morning after, what that explains what that is. Now, of course, our goal and our hope is that they would always give birth. But
Yes, some don't.
this side of heaven, we have to be prepared for reality. And so we want them to have that clear information. So it's very exciting. Once it's downloaded, they can even pass it on to their friend quickly. They can pass it on to others, and we will be able to hopefully reach those that won't be walking into our doors pregnant. It will be a preventative method.
All right. And it also does make a point of contact for your services.
It does.
Yeah.
And so they can put their location in, find their way to us, and they can even contact us and get an appointment quickly as possible.
Wow. All right. So the PC or the Pregnancy Center, check it out at the app stores and get it on your phone, your tablet, or maybe even put it on your desktop, and you'll have it. And then most of all, share it with your family and friends. And I see that you have a QR code at the top. That's another way to connect with the center as well. So check it out, and then most of all, share it with your friends. That's wonderful. Congratulations.
It is exciting.
All right, you got GED classes going on. Why and when and what's this all about?
A lot of the girls that we serve drop out of high school because they cannot juggle everything. I mean, to graduate high school is a feat in and of itself. To do it with a child is an excellent, and we really are very proud of the girls who do, but many of them do not have access to healthy parenting, and so we want to always help them get their goals and their plans for the future achieved. And so we have several girls. I think we have 22 girls. They're 18 or older, and we can only work with girls 18 and older. If they're younger, they want them to contact their school and go through the GED program there. So we have several girls. We were funded to do this. We bought 8 laptops. We're going to start on August 4th. We have retired teachers who are coming in. One has a whole series of books that the girls can do their studying. So there's pre-test, then there's testing along the way, and then finally they go to a location to do their GED testing. So we have an application. It actually asks them how fast do you want to proceed? What is your timeline? And what are your goals after your GED? Because a lot of our girls just can't handle everything. So with that, we're doing classes in the morning and we're doing classes in the evening. And we will make it work for the girls that we can serve. And this will give them a leg up. It will be a really good achievement. They'll have that confidence. They'll feel like they can go forward now and get a job and hopefully higher education. We hope it instills so much in them that I have achieved this, I could move on to my next dreams.
That's wonderful. All right. August 4th, that's only a couple of weeks away.
That's right.
So what do they do? How do they get signed up? Call you?
Yes, if you're a client, definitely you can come to us. If you're not a client and you're pregnant or have a newborn, give us a call. We'll bring you in. You must be 18 or older.
Number?
772-1921.
Okay. All right, well, the annual banquet's coming up. This is always a fun event, and I've had the honor of speaking there and being a part of it, and this is a rallying moment for the Pregnancy Center for Medford, and it's coming up October 9th, and tell us a little bit about it.
October 9th is on a Thursday. We specifically do that. They say it's the least evening for Bible studies and sports events and practice, etc. So it is on a Thursday. This year it is titled "You Are the Light," and it's from Psalm 119, 105. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And this year we're doing, our theme is the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia. And we just thank God every year that we have a rallying group of people that come. We're working a lot with the Nazarene Church right now because they did a program about 7 years ago. So they have some items that we're going to borrow. We have an incredible stage presence this year. Our MC will be Pastor Chris White. He is at Trail Fellowship. Our keynote speaker will be Pastor Barnabas Sprinkle.
Oh, great.
He is from Westminster Presbyterian.
He's great.
And he has an incredible story. Our prayer pastor will be Pastor Tim Olson from Bethel Church. And of course, we're asking you to do our ask. And we save the best for last. No, not really pastors, anyway. And
she's a politician too.
And we're super excited because we have so many new ideas and plans for the future. God has been so faithful with a support system of prayer, and we continually need prayer. And the women that we're serving, I mean, let me just tell you a really quick story about a 14-year-old who came to us, lives in a pregnancy home here, and she was considering adoption, and the idea is if she didn't keep her baby, she'd have to leave the pregnancy home and return to her family. But if she kept her baby, she could stay at the pregnancy home till she's 20 and finish high school. She's an 8th grader. And her mentor and I went to this young lady's final choir performance. She was just a kid up there. We brought her flowers. She just flustered over it. Well, she gave birth at 22 weeks, and her baby lived for 45 minutes. And that time, she was able to hold her baby, and they have a beautiful program at Roe Valley Medical Center, and they take photos and do handprint and feet prints and a lock of hair, and the baby just looks like he was sleeping. And so all that to say that because of the fine board of directors at this pregnancy home, they decided to let her stay on, and they're looking for a home for her here. To return her to where she came from would be criminal, really, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So those are the kind of young women we see, and we're doing a class with her. She's been on vacation. When she comes back, it's called Miscarriage, Footprints on the Heart, and it also talks about stillborn births and those that are born early. And I've watched this with another client, and it's so well done. And so pray for this one, this young child at 14.
I think that's just another reality of things that we need to be aware of what happens, and some of the things in the cases that Cyndi and her team deal with every day. And if it wasn't for you, where would she be? What would happen?
That's a good question. Who would pick up what we're putting down?
Okay, before we run out of time, quickly, you're doing abstinence education classes?
Right. So what we have been focusing on for the last 2 months is abstinence education for each one of our clients. And many of them have just been in tears over this class because they're not getting the education in their schools, and they're not learning really about the effects and how they can be at risk. So we have 2 programs, and one of them is specifically talking about the STDs and about the emotional stress and, of course, the emotional damage.
And when do those start, Cyndi?
We do them on a weekly basis, so they're with our girls, but we can actually do these at churches. We like to separate female from male. The second program we're doing is abstinence as a lifestyle. It's not just saying no, it's trying to live a life that would bring you satisfaction in serving God and moving on into healthy dating and hopefully marriage one day.
All right, you can tell this is a busy place. 772-1921, 772-1921. Whether you want to take in the abstinence classes and the classes on purity and sexual integrity, abstinence as a lifestyle, you can check it out. If you want to be a part of the GED program, you better get involved right away and give them a call, because that all starts August 4th. Mark down on your calendar right now, if you're driving, just take out a Sharpie and write it on your sleeve. October 9th is the big banquet, and you need to get a hold of them for a ticket for that. And it is a fundraising banquet, but it does help with a major part of their funding on an annual basis. So let me encourage you to pray about it, come out, and the lineup is great. And again, 772-1921. And last, certainly not least, their new mobile app is available for your smartphone, your tablet, and even a download for your computer. And I'm sure you can get that at the App Store. So check it out, The PC or The Pregnancy Center. Those watching on the Dove TV, you can see a little bit of a picture of it now. But what a tremendous resource. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Well, good to see you. And let us know when you run out of diapers and bottles.
Always need those.
All right, they're located just behind Costco there. You can't miss it. It's right there on the corner, and you'll see their beautiful sign. Thanks, Cyndi.
You're welcome.
All right, God bless you, sweetheart.
God bless you.
All right, we'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at the Dove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.